to get in the huddle with your host, Charles Prodigy Ritchie, here on the Man of Steel podcast.
This thing belongs to Mr. Roney, belongs here, and let's see if we can bring this damn thing back here next year, along with the Super Bowl. Here we go.
The game is over. The Pittsburgh Steelers did it the hard way.
With the 10th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Devin Bush, linebacker, Michigan.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to this edition here once again of the Man of Steel podcast with yours truly, Charles Prodigy Ritchie, right here on this Monday evening as we got some quite interesting news as we continue to move along here, not just in the Steelers organization, but along in the sports world too. With the Olympics, will be pushed off towards another year. So that was a big right there, I guess you could say, with the virus that's been spreading and continues, doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon. Maybe about up to a month, we're close to it. We could probably be talking about staying home from a lot of reports that's circling out there. People really being social distancing more so than ever at this point in time. But right now, like I said, I'm here once again. Sunday, as you remember yesterday, the surprise special edition podcast, trying to keep everybody's spirits up, and that's what I'm here to do once again today. Again, once again, if you guys want to get in on the conversation, if you guys want, feel free to call in or text the number to be reached to engage that way as well. It is 312-209-2232. Again, that number is 312-209-2232. You can always follow me on Twitter at Prodigy Ritchie, at Man of Steel CJR, at OnDeckCSR, Instagram, Prodigy Ritchie, at OnDeckCSR. Then you can also follow me on my YouTube channel, Man of Steel Podcast. And then for all my podcasts you can hear replays of, you can check me out on Mixcloud, Charles Prodigy Ritchie. That includes my Man of Steel Podcast and my On Deck shows on ChicagolandSportsRadio.com, as well as Anchor too, which my podcasts do get shared on Spotify. So you can also look me up on Spotify and our platform too. Making my way up so far here, but right now, hope everyone's having a good Monday right now, and trying to hang in there for the latest. Hope everyone's finding a good way to network with people at home or get some work done. I mean, even though a lot of us cannot be in the office, as everyone can relate, sadly, the number of deaths are really increasing more, particularly in Pennsylvania. It is that is starting to become a little bit staggering if you ask me. But like I said, here to get things going right now, and we're going to begin shortly. But I want to just ask you real quickly during this podcast, feel free to just share with me some ideas as we move along here. What has been your favorite time around being at home? What has been your favorite activity, where it's doing something around the house, where it's like playing games with your kids or your brothers or sisters if you have any, or people who are living in apartments right now? What's your favorite downtime activity right now during this in-house social distancing right now? I would like to hear your thoughts real quick. I would love to open it up real quickly. Hey, Becky, always a pleasure. Nice having you. Always great seeing you and great being in touch. I got to tell you one of my favorite things I've been doing lately, and I could not believe I was actually looking into this, but I figured why not? Around this time, usually start up for baseball season. I mean, usually wrapping close towards the end of the Cactus League season. And one of the favorite things I was doing too, what I did this past weekend, I was looking at like the all-time World Series, and I'm a pretty much a good sports geek when it comes to that, remembering all times the historical data with that. And one of the things I found myself entertaining to do, because I'm from Chicago right now, and I want to see like how the Chicago Cubs rank up with other teams right there. Of course, they're the most losingest team in the World Series, but I was also comparing right there to, I mean, for like the best all time, when it came to that, as far as like, favorite like matchups or like the winningest teams. That was like been one of my favorite hobbies. I did a lot of research on that. I've been watching a lot of Pete Rose interviews and stuff from the past still too. I mean, as you know, he's still banished from the Baseball Hall of Fame. So that's been one of my favorite things to do. I mean, also been helping my mom out around the house. Oh, one last thing I got to note real quick. If you got a moment, feel free to send some pictures. You're more than welcome to submit pictures on the Metal Steel podcast page if you want, or even in the comments. Happy National Puppy Day today. For those of you that are pet owners, including dog owners right now, if you got any pics, I would love to see him on today's show. Feel free to shoot some in. You can even message me on Facebook if you want to, the Metal Steel Podcast. If you guys are interested, you can definitely shoot me a message through Messenger on there. I will definitely love to take all your questions off to the side, aside from here, and keep it going and do my best to spread the love around here. So let's get into it right now. First and foremost, as Ebu Shet of the Athletic, formerly the Post-Gazette, he did a real good interview with the legendary Terry Bradshaw. And by the way, he was observing. He had some comments and some thoughts, of course, on Ben Roethlisberger's recovery, as well as right now. I mean, like his thoughts, like if he would like had been open to playing for another team. And where everything stands at, more particularly with Tom Brady, he's definitely echoing in right now. Since Bradshaw was one of the very few who never really did that in his career, he was a guy who definitely he played out his career and had a lot of pride. I mean, when you think about him and what he was able to do, I mean, Terry Bradshaw, at the end of the day, despite some of the controversial things he said in the past where he's on air, but just being a legendary Steeler and just getting on with his life, I mean, he still has respect for the organization, no doubt about it. And he definitely cares some Steelers football every now and then. And he'll definitely pay attention at times. But considering being in his overall career, I mean, when you look at, I mean, being the number one overall pick, first overall in the 1970 NFL draft, I mean, he definitely had a lot of pride being that. I mean, this is a guy who came out of Louisiana Tech. I mean, obviously, he always got the criticism being like a dumb quarterback over time, but still, make no mistake about it. A guy like Terry Bradshaw, when you look at him at the end of the day, I mean, it wasn't always the prettiest of roads when he had the relationships with Chuck Noll or the criticism he had with the fans or the media. He was definitely just a fun-loving guy at the end of the day when people get a chance to like watch so many countless documentaries of him. I mean, one of my favorite documentaries I like watching on Bradshaw is definitely on the Football Life by NFL Network. They have such real good documentaries on there, and those are my personal favorites to watch right there. And when I look at it, I mean, at that point in time, I mean, like I said, you look at playoffs too. I mean, he had a damn good playoff record, posting a 14-5 record right there. And he definitely had decent numbers in there as well. I mean, threw for over 3,800 yards. And also, too, let's not forget, too, like, I mean, in the playoffs, too, I think it was around Super Bowl 13 was where he had his first ever 300-yard single passing game, I believe. I think that was the first time, if I'm not mistaken, when I look back at that. I watched a replay of that classic Steelers-Cowboys Super Bowl game, which, by the way, happens to be my all-time favorite Super Bowl, not only from a Steeler perspective, but NFL history of the Super Bowl era. That was my all-time favorite right there when I was a kid, when I was back in 7th, 8th grade, and I got to sat down and watch ESPN2 or ESPN Classic, as was back then when it was really peaking. Now it's like on digital cable. But I really felt the Super Bowl 13, it was one of those rare Super Bowls where it was really closely competitive. As we observed the past Super Bowls, and that a lot of them weren't even close. I mean, just some of them just had to be runaways, and maybe the closest some teams would get is probably like 10, 15 points at the final score. I mean, throughout the game. I mean, if they ever had any kind of like comeback of significance. And that's just what I looked at. It was just one of those rare competitive games right there. It was Miles Standard. If you want to see a decent clash and competitive Super Bowl, that was one you definitely want to pay attention to. Was that one? I think Super Bowl 13, including Super Bowl 10. I mean, Super Bowl 10. I mean, remember that was just as close right there. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, when we talk about like the all-time era of the Super Bowl and what it meant. I mean, just aside from the tradition, like how it was formed. I mean, thanks to a guy in Lamar Hunt who definitely coined the phrase Super Bowl when he made an agreement with Tex Schramm. But I mean, look at like Super Bowl 10, for example. That one right there, that was 21-10 in favor. I mean, not 21-10, excuse me, 21-17 in favor of the Steelers. They barely won that one by 4 points, and they won the next one again by 4 points. This time the scoring was a lot more open. I mean, more particularly to the Mel Blount rule, 35-31. So, I mean, those were some impressive stuff about that era right there. I mean, they were just definitely, it just spoke a lot to like the coaching of a guy like Chuck Noll, the way he set the atmosphere. Obviously, what was always popular and a bed of roses for Bradshaw and his relationship, his on and off relationship with Noll. But make no mistake about it, when they were on the same page and when they were clicking, they found a way to get things done. Even though a guy like Bradshaw was a guy who still liked calling plays at the huddle and making his own adjustments. I mean, he was definitely one of the guys who felt independently to call this on his own. And that's where it was. I just felt like he had a better vision. He just knew how to just click with his teammates more on a personal level and real good chemistry. I mean, a lot of guys will definitely stand up for him. I mean, despite his overall history since moving on, if you ever want to question like how far down his relationship was, make no mistake about it. Without Bradshaw, I mean, the Steelers probably maybe won like maybe half those Super Bowls. You probably had to cut those 4 in half, maybe 2, 1 if they're real lucky. I think they definitely could have won 1, but I mean, to be honest with you, Terry Bradshaw, like I said, you want to know why people always make a big deal out of the quarterbacks right there? Well, that's a big reason why. I just feel when a guy like Terry Bradshaw, because he was recounting how he actually hurt his throwing elbow. Well, what happened was back in 1982 training camp in St. Vincent College, Chuck Noll was having the Steelers practice some deep routes activities right there. And when Bradshaw, who was it was a rainy day right there on the field, on the grass and everything, what he said, his left foot slid up on him and it hit his arm. As soon as it hit his arm, he said like he felt something in his arm. It felt like a bee sting, like something stung him, and he was definitely immediately gripping at his arm, gripping at his elbow right there. And he definitely felt like some pain right there instantly. And don't forget, too, I mean, that was also the same season right there, which kind of helped benefit him a little bit in the way, but not really much. The only thing that it did for Bradshaw, and I think he was just kind of his lucky stars, was that he had more time to rest. I mean, and all this. And that's the thing right there. But even still, because when they had the strike that year, where it was a 9-game season, where they missed significant time during that year. And what happened was he said he didn't touch the football for about a period of 5 to 6 weeks on that time. And even when he did come back, it's like the pain just never went away. I mean, in the process before that, what he was doing was he was taking some pain shots along the way. It just ever since then, little by little, he just was not the same guy. Granted, the Steelers did go on to a 6-3 record that year. They avoided missing the playoffs for 3 straight years. So they had a 3-year playoff drought, which was good right there. But the only problem was when they had the expanded playoff tournament that year, for the strike being so short, and the Steelers happened to be one of those teams that did qualify, they did lose to the Chargers. Thanks to a late pick by Terry Bradshaw in that game. And the Steelers right there, I mean, that was the last game you would see Terry Bradshaw at Pittsburgh, because everyone remembers, as the story goes, 1983. I mean, he said he went to go on and get his surgery on his on his pain that he definitely endured when we looked at everything and we looked at it. He said at the end of the year, I had surgery on it. Bradshaw said in that 1983 offseason right there that he said they tied the muscles together, took the whole summer off, and he came back and he just could not play. So everyone remembers, aside from his last home game as a Steeler, which was in the playoffs in the 82 strike shortened season, he did have one foul game. But even still, I mean, that was in the game in the last game at Shea Stadium against the New York Jets, where he was able to muster it out somehow and really do the best of what he could there. I mean, the Steelers right there, I mean, they had like 2 games remaining. They needed to win, I think, one of those games just to even qualify for the playoffs, and he did. And in that game, I mean, they definitely drowned the Jets 34-7 in that game. And you saw Terry Bradshaw's final stat as a quarterback for them. He completed 5 of 8 passes for 77 yards, 2 touchdown passes, no picks, by the way, which is, I guess you could say, very rare for a guy like Bradshaw. I mean, he definitely threw a lot of picks, and that, I mean, he was just hurting in so much pain. I mean, luckily, he had the benefit of still having a run game in Franco Harris and Frank Pollard, I believe it was at that time, or Pollard. So you definitely had some insurance right there, some guys around you could rally around. I mean, the defense, even though it was still little by little on its decline, still had one more legit run. I mean, it's like, I mean, at that point in time, I guess compare the Steelers' defense if you had like that little toothpaste bottle and you're always brushing your teeth every morning and you're starting to run low on that toothpaste, you're trying to squeeze every little ounce you can. I guess in fairness to say, that's kind of like where the Steelers' defense was at that point. They were that bottle of toothpaste right there, squeeze every little ounce, scratching and clawing their way back in. I mean, the best they ever did, believe it or not, was the offseason where he did try making the comeback in the 84 offseason. He could not do it, and you know what? He just told Chuck, no, I can't do this anymore. So he just shook his hand. He moved on. He never really formally announced his retirement at all. He just quietly transitioned with CBS, where he became a play-by-play analyst on CBS for the first 6 years of his broadcasting career. Then, of course, in 1990, that's where he started transitioning his role to where he is right now through CBS and Fox Sports to a studio analyst. And that was the story of Bradshaw right now. But to get around to like what we're talking about here with Ben Roethlisberger and where he feels he is at right now, and his comments on it. I mean, he this is what he had to say in regards to Ben Roethlisberger. He says Ben's injury, it was on the outside. It wasn't Tommy John. Bradshaw said the surgery that Roethlisberger had in California. It's going to be up to Ben listening to the doctors and what they say. And the doctors not lying to them and Ben not lying. I feel great. Well, maybe you don't feel great. It takes a while. I'm not a doctor, but when you tear those ligaments, I don't know what he tore. You're looking at probably 10 months of some serious rehab. And also he added on, I mean, yeah, in the back of his mind, he's 38 now, but he has to be saying to himself, okay, take care of this thing. Don't come back until you're 100% strong and you can make all the throws and there is no pain, etc. I feel like that's what's going to happen. I'm hoping that's fine. And with under appropriate supervision, he expects him to come back strong. So there you have it with Terry Bradshaw. I think one of the notable things, too, with Ben Roethlisberger, he even said, too, because remember, he also has a real good tight-knit relationship with a guy like Ryan Switzer right there. And I think one of the stories I heard, too, I mean, as everyone couldn't work out, I think Roethlisberger was nice enough to welcome him to his house, and they practiced working out together, getting some reps in at the house, throwing some stuff. And Ben Roethlisberger, I think, to my knowledge, as far as what he's saying, he definitely feels like he's in a better spot. I mean, mentally and emotionally. And definitely, like I said, I think he definitely cleared up. He felt good without the elbow, but we'd still like to see a little bit more, I guess, like film over time, especially when it comes to mini camp, training camp, and, of course, some preseason snaps, too. I mean, definitely. That's going to definitely be the ultimate test. I mean, the only question is right now, we're going to get to this in fair foul. Do you guys still want to see the Steelers, if it's open, if it's available, and if it's reasonable, get a backup quarterback? And I know one of the guys that's been linked to this has been Jameis Winston. Like I said, we'll save that one for fair or foul. Have time to think about it. But right now, once again, for those of you who are tuning in on the Man of Steel podcast, like I said, the phone lines are open to dial in, or you can even text me 312-209-2232. Again, that's 312-209-2232. You can also follow me on Twitter at Prodigy Richie, at Man of Steel CJR, at OnDeckCSR. All my Instagram platforms, at Prodigy Richie, at Man of Steel Nation, at OnDeckCSR. Then, of course, for all my podcasts on my Mixcloud, Anchor, and Spotify Mixcloud, Charles Prodigy Richie. And then, of course, Anchor and Spotify, you can look me up, Crunch Time with Charles Prodigy Richie. You got another platform where I'm sharing all my Man of Steel and On Deck podcasts right there. Feel free to check it out right there. And if you guys want to take a listen, in case you guys miss the live show, that's where I'm sharing my stuff at right now. I definitely love Mixcloud a lot. I've been using that for like years. And for anyone who's looking to get into like the podcasting game, in my opinion, if you guys want to start off with something simple, it's unlimited uploading right there. So that's one thing you cannot deny. But here, I want to see if you guys have any questions lined up here. Nothing as of yet. But let's also look at it right now as we're streaming right now. Also, too, I just want to make notes, too. The Pittsburgh Steelers, at the beginning of this, too, earlier in the day, considering what's everything going on with the COVID-19 virus, the Steelers announced today that they donated a $100,000 contribution to United Way Emergency Basic Needs Fund to help against the fight of this virus. United Way of Southern Pennsylvania has always played a major role in helping our community. This is a quote from Steelers president Art Rooney II. During these unprecedented times in our country, we want to make sure those in need have the financial support to rally in our community. We're grateful for the efforts of all the heroes, volunteers, and first responders during this crisis, and we hope this donation will assist the United Way in their efforts. United Way 24/7-211 has also established a formal arrangement and where it helps in the following areas. Handling calls to provide general information about health questions related to the virus, referring those who need further evaluation to the health department, fielding additional call volume for emergency basic needs like food, rent, and utility payments, which I'm sure a lot of people are going to start experiencing slowly right now. I mean, if you guys are pushing edge to payments, don't feel alone right now. Don't feel nothing to be embarrassed about this. Drastic times call for drastic measures. Obviously, we want to keep up our stuff, but I think some companies can understand certain situations at a time like this. And then also, too, another one, providing the latest CDC guidelines and recommendations from local authorities. So make sure to check that up right there. And as you can also see, too, the NFLPA has also been like knowing a lot of players who've been doing stuff within the community. And one guy who I really liked, too, you look at TJ Watt's brother, JJ Watt, who you follow on Twitter at JJ Watt, and at Kalia Ohai, KEALIAOHAI, they made a generous contribution of $350,000 donation to the Houston Food Bank for one of their many contributions right there. And that is so notable right there, so that more than 1 million meals can be provided for local Texans impacted by the current crisis. I mean, you got teams like the defending Super Bowl champion Chiefs even doing their role, and much more teams across the NFL that the NFLPA is knowing. Just wanted to say commend all these athletes right here. I mean, at a time right here, I mean, you really look at the true definition what it is to give back and being togetherness right now. And also, too, if you guys are also looking at, like I said, we even got like a local Steeler bar here in Chicago, Illinois. right here, if you guys are looking at, because I know there's the biggest thing too. I mean, one of the biggest companies who've definitely been impacted by this has been a lot of bartenders too. I mean, when people want to go out and have a few drinks and be socializing with their friends, I mean, it's definitely some sad times right now. I mean, you got quite a few contributions going on right now. One of my good friend and buddies right now, Alex Valario, right now, who's one of the managers of Durkin's Tavern, which is a local Steeler bar on the Chicago area right now. They got Durkin's Tavern tip jar organized right now to help out all the people who are going to have to be home right now. And the bottom line is, so if you guys ever want to check that out, please feel free to look that up right there. Like I said, it's really calls upon a time for people who could definitely be using money right now, and people who are definitely in need. So, like I said, it's just definitely right now just a real good time to really just try and be as humble as we can, as generous as we can, to helping others. And you know how State Farm would always like to say, like good neighbor, State Farm is there. Kind of like the same idea over here. I mean, with these times with the corona virus here, as we think about things. So right now, let's get ready to get into some fair or foul topics right now. Fair or foul topic number 1. Should the Steelers, if still available, and you know Art Rooney and Kevin Colbert have made their stance clear that they're not interested in having a backup quarterback right now at this point in time. But I mean, you still got people around the sports world looking into this and thinking like it could be still be doable right here. And I definitely feel like you can. It's just the problem is when what we look at here. I mean, you gotta really think about how we're going to be able to do this right here. And one interesting person who was actually on today on 93.7 The Fan, we're talking about NFL Network reporter Aditi Kinkobwala right here. She was on Pony and Miller's show, which could be heard throughout the week. And here's what she had to say as regards to as far as like any chances, still possibly if Steeler fans or people are wrong that the Steelers should be looking at a guy like Jameis Winston. Feel free to take a listen to this.
Very true. And I'm glad you're on today, but why is Jameis Winston not going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler?
Because it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is that not reason enough? It's not. I mean, it's not happening.
Well, what does that mean?
Michael Vick was a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Good point, Chris.
Very different. Michael Vick is arguably one of the single most dynamic athletes that any of the three of us have seen in our lifetime. It's just, you know what? First of all, the cap is not going to work on that. Second of all,
aren't you done with the cap stuff, though, Aditi? I mean, everybody said the Steelers offseason.
30 turnovers.
Yeah. Well, that was just his interceptions. He threw 40 touchdowns if you count the 7 that went to the other team.
I mean, are you telling me, Aditi, that you don't think Jameis Winston would be an improvement on Mason Rudolph?
I'm not. Look, this is not my personal opinion on this. This is my take in having conversations with members of the Steelers organization on whether this is actually happening or not. Oh. And so what I'm saying is we just need to sort of end this chatter because it's not happening.
And there you have it right there. I mean, Aditi Kinkobwala, she just announced just a few moments ago right there, as everyone has heard. I mean, she's definitely, does her due diligence across the NFL. And I think she definitely also is a reporter also, too, within the AFC North, including teams like the Browns. And I want to say the Ravens as well, but definitely the Steelers from time to time. She's always got interesting takes right there. She hasn't been afraid to, be very fairly critical or observational with the situation. And I got to be on the side with Aditi right now. Listen, I'm not ruling anything out. But at the same time, too, I mean, she even went on to make a comment later on, too. I mean, why was it? I mean, Paulie and Miller were asking her, why was it any different for a guy like Michael Vick when he got acquired back in 2015? She said that Michael Vick was more like a dynamic player. I think the only problem that we have with a guy like Jameis Winston with him, I mean, when you look at his overall career, I mean, it's his touchdown to interception ratio. It's 121 to 88. I mean, like the last few years, I mean, he's been kind of like struggling with that. I mean, and he's bulked it up. I mean, a career high 30 picks, 33 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. When you look at things, he's usually averaging, like when you look at his career stats, probably like around the mid-teens, probably like around 15, I want to say, per season, if you're looking at it on an average standpoint. But for right now, I'm going to have to say no on this. I mean, the only way I probably say it may be possible, let's just look at training camp. Let's see how things shape up. I mean, the only way I could see it happening is if someone gets hurt. Does Mason Rudolph have a little relapse of his injury right there? I mean, those are all things I think you have to look at. You have to lay it on the table from that perspective. And I think that's the only logic I could put into this. But like I said, I think those are some real significant things right there. If you could honestly say right now that you're definitely comfortable with it, I have no problem with it. Also, right now, too, let's get ready to conclude the show. I want to conclude this on a big-time bang here right now. Right now, one of the things, too, that the Cook and Joe show we're having, and Bob Pompiani, who is with KDKA Pittsburgh, and very real popular voice in Pittsburgh, by the way. I enjoy calling in on a show on the Bob Pompiani show on Saturdays, which you can catch every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard, or 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, excuse me. And he's usually on there every Mondays, too, at the first early chunk of the show with the Cook and Joe show. He usually sits on. They're definitely ruffle each other's feathers a lot, I guess you could say, no pun intended, right now. And right now I got Brian McKay, Stairway to 7 next season. Yeah, let's hope so, brother. I hope that is something right there that happens. But like I said, it's definitely going to be depending big time on the health of Ben Roethlisberger, how he feels. And I think Terry Bradshaw is definitely right in that regard. I mean, it's one thing to say you feel great, but it's another thing to really actually look yourself, evaluate yourself in the mirror, and really see like how you really do at this point in time. So right now, I want to ask you guys real quick. Again, we're ending the show right now, and one of the topics they were discussing right now was their all-time Steelers defensive drafts within the last 50-plus years. And there was a lot of good, like, interesting takes on there we're going to get to in just a little bit here as we look at it. I mean, and on 93.7 The Fan here, as we looked at it, and one of the takes that the staff had for their best defensive picks, and here's what each guy had to say when we tallied up. It was a total of 5 picks. If you guys want to just leave some comments real quick. We had Ron Cook, his top 5 Steelers defensive picks of all time. He went with Mean Joe Green, Jack Ham, Ernie Stautner, Jack Butler, and L.C. Greenwood. That was Ron Cook. And then, of course, you had Joe Starkey. He had Troy Polamalu, Jack Lambert, James Harrison, Levon Kirkland, and Greg Lloyd. And then Pompiani, he had Mel Blount, Rod Woodson, Diane Shell, T.J. Watt, and Cam Hayward. Now, here's my 5, what I'm going to say right now. And this is who I would choose as my 5 guys. And I think I got a pretty good lab. Feel free to let me know. Give me your reactions if you guys like it, hate it. Doesn't matter. I want to hear from you. These would be my 5 guys if I were to do like an all-time Steelers defensive draft pick in the last 50 years. I will go number 1, no doubt about it. Game changer for the franchise in so many ways alongside with Chuck Noll. Mean Joe Green. I mean, being the second Steeler to be having his jersey retired along with Ernie Stautner, who's the original Mr. Steeler right there. I mean, you think about a guy who was a 10-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro, won the Defensive Player of the Year award twice, 1972, 1974. A big-time defensive captain for being a defensive tackle on that front, which really just kicked off like the steel curtain. When you think of steel curtain, you think of that defensive front right there. I mean, when you look at Mean Joe Green, and you had, like I said, L.C. Greenwood, Ernie Holmes right there. I mean, all those guys right there, I mean, who really did a lot, I mean, for that team. I mean, when you really think about things and where they're at. So, I mean, definitely Mean Joe Green. It was definitely number one on that. And when you looked at it, and for the Steelers, I mean, when you look at the rest of these guys here, I mean, on that defensive front, I mean, when you looked at it, like I said, you had Joe Green, and like I said, you had Ernie Holmes, and of course Dwight White. Excuse me, that was the only guy that was escaping my mind right there. My second pick after Mean Joe Green, I will go with another first ballot Hall of Famer this coming year, Troy Polamalu, number 43, right there. He was a guy right there. When I look at his career, who's definitely a big time game changer. I mean, for this franchise, definitely makes some game changing plays. I mean, for the team, he was just definitely unpredictable, as a lot of people will definitely attest to him. A guy like Tom Brady, who definitely went to bat for him when it was his turn for the Hall of Fame induction. I mean, going in this year. I mean, this guy right here, I mean, he just knew how just read offenses and just make some necessary adjustments, and just his speed and his timing, the way he just timed things, it was unparalleled to a lot of people, especially when you looked at a league that was getting faster and aggressive. I mean, he was definitely a mastermind at that, and just it was always game on, in my opinion. I mean, Troy Polamalu, he definitely did everything to like really lay it all on the line at that defensive front, in my estimation. My third pick overall, when we go into this right now, we also got right now 11-time Pro Bowler, 6-time All-Pro. By the way, Troy was 8-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro. I got right now Rob Woodson, just like Troy Polamalu, Defensive Player of the Year. Even though he did go on to earn his first and only Super Bowl ring with a different team, with the Ravens, but still, I mean, his career in Pittsburgh, not only what he was doing as a corner, but more importantly, how he was his special teams, his returns on special teams. It was just something incredible right there when you look at a guy like Rob Woodson, what he was able to do here, and just how much damage he made and struck a lot of fear. I mean, talking about a guy like Devin Hester, I mean, Rob Woodson was also that guy who could like make some stuff happen as far as being a kick and punt returner mainly, and then just later on, just proving adaptability later in his career. And then Pittsburgh Steelers draft wide receiver. Hey, Dame, real quick, I'm just going over 5 top defensive picks. Appreciate the comment, but that's okay. If you want to just leave a little comment at the end of this, that's fine. And then my other guy, my last 2 guys, I will go with for outside linebackers. I'm going to go with James Harrison and Kevin Green. I think when you look at both of those guys, I mean, James Harrison, who's the all-time leader in sacks for the franchise, and Kevin Green, who definitely worked his way up, I mean, amongst the sack leaders in the NFL. I mean, that is just some legit stuff at the end of the day. I mean, when you really think about, like, where defensive players, I mean, since this became, like, a stat in 1982, and when you looked at it, and I mean, a guy like Kevin Green, who is third all-time amongst sacks right now, who's still edging out the retired Julius Peppers by half a sack. I mean, these are guys that are really still like guys to be reckoned with here. I mean, Kevin Green, I mean, he was definitely a big-time strong help for the Steelers getting back to the Super Bowl, even though they didn't win one with him. But he was definitely a guy who helped restore a lot of defense pride for that organization at a time and where the defense was intimidated. They brought back that nastiness and the aggression. They brought back the attitude of the 70s Steel Curtain in some ways, and just attacking at the last scrimmage, attacking the quarterback. I mean, when it wasn't so much protected back in those days. So there you have it. Again, my top 5 all-time defensive player picks to recap. I started off with Mean Joe Green, Troy Polamalu, Rob Woodson, and then James Harrison and Kevin Green. And those are going to be my picks for my all-time team. And I'd like to hear your thoughts right now. And once again, happy National Puppy Day, by the way, for pet owners. Please feel free if you guys want to share some pics of your dogs on here. Feel free. Love to hear them. Like to hear people open up here, and hope people are finding a way to salvage this Monday. Of course, the upcoming days and weeks and month as we all try and combat this coronavirus. Once again, like I said yesterday, if you guys know anybody in your family or friends, loved ones who are in the field of a paramedic, make sure to give them a big shout out, because those people are definitely working their tails off for all of us, and people work alongside with the government. I mean, trying to get like a cure somehow and find a way to do this. I mean, obviously the government's approving to have this stuff be isolated, but I mean, what more can we do? So for everybody, just be safe. Have a good rest of your Monday, and please do the right thing. And if you have that little urge, just make sure we're doing it for the all proper necessities. As always, leave it. Don't be trolling, be rolling. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. I gone.